Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to part 2 of my Thaumcraft 5 Spotlight. It's time to check out some of the more advanced features of Thaumcraft. We're going to take a look today at infusion crafting, very similar to the Thaumcraft 4 version of infusion crafting, so if you've seen it before, it won't be terribly new to you, but there are differences with essentia distillation, and I'll probably go through the infusion crafting pretty quickly so that people who've not played with Thaumcraft before are familiar enough with it, but it won't be a huge repeat of content for people who are familiar with it from playing Thaumcraft. So we're going to take a look at essentia distillation today. We'll look at some essentia tubes and a nifty new device called the essentia transfusion, which is really cool and useful. And then we'll take a look at a couple other things with regards to essentia and some infusion crafting related objects. And then maybe we'll take a look at some of the really cool gadgets that are available courtesy of Thaumcraft. And we'll definitely be taking a look today at golems, which have changed significantly and are very, very cool. In my opinion, way cooler than they were in Thaumcraft 4. So, we have a lot to cover. Let's get started. So to get started with infusion crafting, one of the first things you're going to want to do is get yourself some essentia distillation mechanics. This works very similarly to the way it did in Thaumcraft 4, but there are some key differences. The Tier 1 essentia smeltery is crafted like so. You're going to want to get these brass plates using alchemical brass ingots, which are made through the crucible, I believe. So essentia crafting, pretty similar to before. You're also going to want an arcane alembic. So I've already gotten these guys ready. So place down your essentia smeltery and then place down an arcane alembic on top. Give the thing a little bit of fuel. And then what happens is you want to place items in here. They will get melted down into their core components and turned into essentia, which you'll get different aspects of essentia. And if we look, you'll see that there are vials of essentia, and pretty much every aspect can, be made in this way. Kind of think of it as like a liquid version of the aspect, or maybe a gaseous version of the aspect. So for example, glowstone has some lux and sensus. I'm going to place some glowstone in here and let it get melted down, and you'll see that we'll get this little bit of sludge. This is just raw magical energy, which then needs to be filtered by the arcane alembic. And you'll notice that we got some sensus there. Each alembic can only hold one type of aspect. So if you're going to be breaking down complex things, you might want another arcane alembic sitting on top. Boom, right there. And now you'll see that we got some lux. 2 of them. Perfect. So that worked exactly like we would have expected. 2 lux and 1 sensus. So if we were to drop another piece of glowstone in there, let's see what happens. If we're lucky, we'll get another piece of sensus and another bit of lux. Looking good, looking good. Hey, there's some sensus missing. What's going on? In this version of Thaumcraft, essentia distillation, the basic essentia guy has about a 20% chance to lose that essentia and convert it directly to flux. So these guys aren't super efficient. 20% chance of that happening, 80% chance of getting the aspect that you want. So pay attention to that, because you could easily think like I've got exactly the right amount, and then, oh no, wait, I don't. Okay, now to get this stuff out of here, you're going to want to go ahead and use essentia tubes. Now, essentia tubes are a little bit complex, and I don't want to spend a large amount of time in the spotlight talking about them, but long story short, they can only transfer one type of essentia at a time, okay, and you'll use them to pipe essentia out of the alembics and into the jars. So if we were to hook this up like so, you'll notice that some of the sensus went into here, but you really can't hook up pipes like this because the sensus is trying to suck in and it's trying to get the lux out, and they're conflicting with each other. So bad things happen. They're really intended to just be like a, one at a time type thing. You can only have one type in there at a time. Another option is you can go ahead and use some advanced essentia tubes that allow you to do things like filtering and restricting. And you can also build yourself some buffers and some valves that make things a little bit easier. Cool. So go ahead and flip through these guys. Like I said, I don't want to spend too much time talking about the tubing system because frankly it's a little bit confusing. But one of the things you can also do to help out is get the essentia resonator. And this guy is going to help you figure out, how much suction there is on a tube network. And you'll see here that there's certain amounts of suction coming through here. So this is trying to pull any type of essentia. This is trying to pull sensus essentia. Cool. So that's the basic gist of how to get things. What I'll do for now is remove a lot of these and throw this down, for example, and that should start filling up with lux. Cool. So So that's probably your best bet for early game before you're able to do more with it. Now, this is all well and good, but one of the things you're going to want to do is probably make an upgrade here. Let's check out this nifty device called the Essentia Transfusion. There's two of these. There's the filling Essentia Transfuser and the emptying Essentia Transfuser. Let's take a look at the first one, the filling Essentia Transfuser. Go ahead and stick these on the side. So let's get another transfuser here of your arcane alembics and place some glowstone in here, and we should see what happens pretty quickly. Ta-da! These guys can go ahead and automatically transfer Essentia out of the arcane alembic and pipe it directly into jars in much the same way that it used to be able to transfer to, for example, the arcane infusion. So I think it's a 16 block radius, so it should be able to do a pretty good job here. Let's go ahead and throw a bunch of glowstone in. And the Essentia will automatically be piped directly into the jars. Pretty cool, right? Not too shabby. I'm going to remove these and just see if it finds its way to other jars too. There it goes. Nice, look at that. How cool. So no longer do you need to use golems for this type of work. You can go ahead and just hook up the filling Essentia Transfuser. And really, you only need one arcane alembic because it seems like it dumps out pretty quickly to the point where it never even gets up to the second arcane alembic. So that's really cool. Now, conversely, the emptying Essentia Transfuser is placed on a device that would accept Essentia and will automatically draw it out of jars. We'll see that in a little bit. Now, in order to go ahead and make yourself a infusion altar, you're going to need one runic matrix, some arcane stone, which is made by surrounding a shard with stone in an arcane workbench, and finally, you're going to need to make yourself some arcane pedestals and construct it like so. So very similar to those of you who've played prior versions of Thaumcraft, this should look pretty much identical. So place these guys down here with the runic matrix on top. And go ahead and hit this guy with a wand. Ta-da! Your infusion matrix is ready to go. Cool. And then you're going to want to place arcane pedestals around this thing. Now go ahead and read through the Thaumonomicon, because it is important to do things in kind of a balanced fashion, and you'll want to read about some of the ways that you can help stabilize things. There's also more advanced versions of this using either Eldritch Stone or Ancient Stone, and they'll give you some pretty neat upgrades along the lines of less instability and faster crafting processes. And you can even, if you check out down here, there's some infused speed stone and infused cost stone. These can be placed underneath the pillars that will either speed up or reduce the cost of the operation of the infusion altar, but at the cost of the other. So if you make it faster, it costs more, and if you make it cost less, it slows it down. Pretty slick. But let's go ahead and demonstrate a quick infusion crafting process just so you guys can see what it's all about. So you'll note that one of the things we can craft here are the boots of the traveler. Requires a pair of leather boots to be in the center of this thing. So let's snag ourselves a pair of leather boots. Those go in the center of your arcane pedestal. And then we need to put a clownfish, a feather, 2 air shards, and what I'll probably do is something like this, and then 2 enchanted fabric. And it helps to have a somewhat balanced system. So you can see that the opposite corner from this arcane pedestal from this one is over to here, right over here. Cool. And the opposite from here is straight over here. So having a bit of balance in your pedestals will help reduce the chance of bad things happening. In addition to the items placed, you need nearby to have some liquid essentia in jars, right? So you need 25 modus and 25 volatus, which I've taken care of ahead of time. Simply right-click on the runic matrix, and it'll go ahead and start drawing that stuff in from the adjacent jars, and it'll infuse the liquid essentia into the boots, and then it'll infuse the items into the boots. Now, the more complex the infusion that you're doing, the higher chance of some negative effects happening in the environment, which could include flux being dumped into the atmosphere. Let's take a look. Where are we at with flux? We got a little bit going on there. Oh, look at that. It just spiked. Wow, that was a good timing to show you guys that then. So a little bit of flux can go ahead and spike into the atmosphere. Oh, and our Sometimes items will get knocked off pedestals. That's never a good time. Sometimes items can be destroyed. Players can take damage. There's all kinds of negative effects that can happen, but you're going to want to go ahead and research how you can, yeah, look at that little zaps of flux going on there. That's not good. Do some research on how to improve the stability of these pedestals, because it's definitely worth doing. In Thaumcraft 5, flux is a little bit nastier. But now we've got Boots of the Traveler, which give us the ability to run faster, automatic uphill step assist, and a little bit higher jumping. Nice. So let's take a look at Golemancy next, because Golemancy has changed very much. If you guys are familiar with golems from Thaumcraft 4, pretty much forget everything you know about golems. Well, maybe not everything, but a large portion of it. So golems are pretty slick. First off, you want to take a look at the different types of materials you can make golems out of, and you'll notice that you can do iron, you can do clay, you can do this brass ingot stuff. There we go, there's the recipe for the brass ingot. It's aqua and potentia with an iron ingot in the crucible. You can also use thaumium and void metal once you unlock the eldritch stuff. Golems are made in the following construct right here. You're going to need a stone table, an anvil, a piston, and a cauldron. Let's take a look. So let's get our stone table, an anvil, a piston, and a cauldron. Okay, and we'll put it over here. So stone table, anvil, piston, cauldron, and you want the piston facing that way. And then the other thing you're going to need to place on top are some bars. So let's get those. And we're just going to put it here and hit it with the wand. Boom! And we've got our golem press. So by the way, just so you guys know, the Golemancy tab is not unlocked by default. Like I mentioned earlier, you have to scan certain things in the world to unlock certain researches. You might want to scan something that's related to golems. Hint, hint. You know, vanilla Minecraft golems. But, you know, I didn't tell you that. So anyway, now that we've got our golem press, we can use this to craft ourselves some really cool golem stuff. Let's take a look how. You'll note here it gives you some pretty good instructions on how to go ahead and do this, but I'm going to go ahead and give you the basic gist. So let's see. Basically what you want to do is open up the interface, and you'll notice there's many different options here. Some of these options won't be available until you've unlocked some of the upgrades via other research, okay? So pay attention to that. Okay, so to start off, you can choose what type of golem to make. So the Greatwood golem uses Greatwood, and you can see the ingredients over here on the right for what you'll need. And it also gives it certain stats. So for example, the Greatwood gives you the light frame. It's lighter than average, which gives increased speed and agility. So it's a little bit faster than some of the other golems. If you made an iron golem, for example, it'll be a heavy frame, which reduces its speed and agility, but it's also fireproof because it's made of iron. Clay, on the other hand, is just fireproof, and it's not heavy or fast, so it's kind of a middle tier. Brass is a light frame. You can use thaumium, which is a heavy frame and fireproof, and then the void metal gives you improved self-repair. And you'll also notice other stats, so down here, pay attention as I'm flipping through, the health and the armor, and I believe that's like attack damage down there, is going to improve as you do stuff. The second tab down here are for upgrades. So for example, you can give it armor plating, which gives it just more armor, as you can see down there, and that just might modify the costs of creating this golem. Okay, so if you gave iron armor plating, it bumps it up to 6 armor instead of just 4. Pretty cool. The other thing you want to apply to the golem are you can swap out its head, its arms, and its legs for different upgrades. First, I'm going to go with the most basic golem, which is just Greatwood with a simple head, simple arms, and basic legs. Okay, so we can see that we're going to need some Greatwood planks, some brass gears, and a clockwork mind, which, if you were paying attention, was the first thing listed here in this section where it was showing you how to make this guy. Cool. So let's get ourselves a clockwork mind, or 64 of them, some Greatwood planks. And what else do we need? Brass gears. And finally, we're going to need some liquid essentia. Good thing I showed you guys how to make that a bit ago. Pretty much every one of these golems needs machina, right? Or machina, or however you want to pronounce that. So you can either supply it with the thing I showed you before, or you can go ahead and just use a tube, simple and straightforward, and a jar. Cool. And then we'll fill this thing up with machina. Cool, nice and full. So that's how you supply the liquid essentia that you need to fuel this. So you'll notice now, when I didn't have great wood planks, it has this big red X over it saying, hey, you're missing an item, silly. But you go ahead and put them back in your inventory and you're ready to go. So once you've had all the components that you need to make the golem as you've defined, you can go ahead and click the craft button. If we were making, for example, an iron golem, we'd need some iron plates instead of great wood, right? So just get the items you need and hit craft. And it's going to suck some essentia up there. You can see it draining, and it shows you a little progress bar. And then when you're done, you've got a golem. Sweet. And you can place him in the world. Let's go over here to show you guys this stuff. So placing the golem on the ground is all well and good, and he's just going to sit there. Hey, what's up, buddy? I'm a golem. I just do stuff. Technically, he does nothing at the moment because we haven't given him any instructions. In order to get a golem to do something, you're going to need golem control seals. And if you're thinking, gee, Dyer, this looks very familiar, you're wrong. It's actually pretty different. So golem control seals are what give golems instructions. You're also going to want to make yourself a Golemancer's bell to help modify those instructions and set them up. So Soren will be very happy to know that the Golemancer's bell is back. But it doesn't ding anymore when you right-click on an empty block. Hooray for that. So let's check out seals. So there are quite a few seals in here. You take your blank seal, and you can, some of them require arcane infusion, others require the crucible. So there's different seals that you can get. Let's take a look at the collect seal, which is one of the more basic ones. I think that's right here. This will allow golems to go ahead and pick up items off the ground and just grab them. That's all it does. Just, hey, any items on the ground in this area, pick them up. How do the seals work? It's really easy. You simply place them on the ground somewhere. Where to go? It's there, don't worry, it's just invisible. You can place blocks there, but trust me, it's still there. To see it, go ahead and grab your Golemancer's bell, and you'll be able to see the seal. Without a Golemancer's bell in your hand, you won't see the seal. I believe, by the way, also holding a golem in your hand lets you see it as well. Cool. Right-clicking on the seal with a Golemancer's bell will allow you to modify how this seal works. Right now, it's working in an area for up and down, just one, east and west 3, north and south 3. And if we back up a little bit, you should be able to see that. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So 1, 2, 3 to the east and west, I'm guessing that is, and also 1, 2, 3 to the north and south. Cool. And up and down, it's just 1. If you want to modify this, you can bump it up. So it's a little bit hard to see. It's a little bit hard for me to see. I don't know how bad it's going to be for you guys on YouTube to see, but that bumped it up. If we shrink this down a little bit and we bring the east-west radius down, you'll see now it's just that, right? So you can easily modify the area that the seal affects. The second tab over here is the filter. You can do a whitelist or a blacklist. So I can specify what items are allowed to be picked up or restricted from being picked up. And there's a more advanced version of the seal that I think gives you more options here. You can also set up a task priority and whether or not any golems are allowed to perform the tasks that this seal specifies, or only golems owned by the seal owner. So for example, if somebody else was playing and they placed down a golem, would their golems follow these instructions, yes or no? Okay. Also, there's requirements on some seals. So some of the stats that you get from certain golems may be required or forbidden for the seal to work. And we'll see an example of that in just a moment. So let's go ahead and show what happens. If we drop items outside the seal's radius, okay, nothing happens. Okay. If we drop items inside the seal's radius, the golem should decide, hey, there's items inside that seal's radius. I'm going to go collect them. Cool. Now, if you want your golem to do something with those items, you're going to need another seal. In this case, I'm going to use the store seal, and I'm going to place it on a chest. Boom, just like that. It's there, and the golem ran over and placed items inside the chest. Yes, come over here, mister. Get away from that chest. I will stay here. Good, you do that. Move out of the way a little bit, thanks. So the seal for this guy is a little bit different. You can filter what items are allowed to be put in here. Again, whitelist or blacklist. And there's a more advanced version that gives you more options. Again, priority and who owns it, and then the requirements for who can use it. So in prior versions of Thaumcraft, the seals would go directly on the golem, and then the golem would be able to carry out that task. Now, the seals go in the world, and the golems can carry out multiple tasks, which is really cool. If you think about it, this allows the golems to be able to do multiple things at once. Let's take a look at an example. I'm going to go ahead and set up some farmland here. So I've set up a little farm, and I want this golem to operate in this farm. So first off, I'm going to place down my collect seal, once again, right there. And notice it's an invisible thing, so other blocks can exist in the area. It didn't displace the water, it's no problem, okay? You might need to sneak your way in on a good way to access it, but we'll figure that out in a second. So to make this a little bit easier to demonstrate, I'll go ahead and put my collect seal on the bottom. It seems easier to access it from there instead of on the side of the block. So here we'll have the collect seal. I'm going to do up and down 2 so that now we're going to collect inside this area. So any items that land on the ground around here should be collected by my golem. And remember, we've still got the storage seal here, so he's going to go ahead and store them inside the chest. Cool. Now, in addition to here, I'm going to go ahead and place the harvest seal right here. Nice. You'll notice that he's also got an area defined, and when I'm looking at it, it looks like a pinkish color for the collect seal and like a greenish color for the harvest. I'm going to change that up and down to 3, and I'm thinking that'll cover this block space here, and you can see it right there. So that looks pretty good. And then options, whether or not to replant crops, and request provisioning, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then we can do, again, the priority and the requirements. However, this has different requirements. He requires deft golems and smart golems in order for this to work. So, if I were to grab some bone meal and grow these plants, my poor golem is just too stupid and clumsy, frankly, to handle harvesting. Poor golem, we're going to need another one. One that meets the requirements of the harvest golem. So pay attention to the requirements on your seals here, because they're going to be pretty important. So let's go ahead and make a golem that's both smart and deft. So let's pop over to our golem press. So to change these attributes, you're going to want to pay attention to what your Thaumonomicon tells you. One of the things you can look at is, let's see, biothalmic mines. These are basically ways to infuse your simple clockwork mines with more intelligence. Cool. And in order to, once you've made those, simply click the right arrow here and you'll see that you've now got a smart head. Cool. So this head is a little bit different, and he's now smart, so he can match that requirement. We're just going to need one of those biothalmic mines, which instead of doing infusion crafting right now, I will just do that. Cool. And the other thing we're going to need are some better arms. So our golem is a little bit clumsy with his hands. He can't really do complex things like harvesting plants and reseeding, so we're going to go ahead and use fine manipulators, which gives him the deft attribute. Nice. So now we can go ahead and craft this guy. And again, he's going to be a great wood golem, but he's got different traits because we modified his head and his hands. So he's got more abilities now. Ta-da! We've got a very fancy golem that now can do what we want. So I'm just going to place him over here, and you'll see that his hands are rendered a little bit differently, as is his head, as are the hands and heads of this guy. So they're just obviously a little bit different. Nice. So he should now be able to start following the instructions of what I've given. Oh, look, there he goes. Hooray! So he can both pick up items and bring them back to the chest. He can also, pretty much do everything. If we want, we could get rid of this golem here. He's no longer necessary. Just right-click with a wand. Sweet. That is cool. And he should replant when he gets seeds. I'm guessing the other golem snagged the seeds from him, from right underneath him. So let's go ahead and replant a little bit. And he should come by every now and then and decide, hey, there's some plants that need harvesting. Let's go ahead and take care of that. So we've got one golem following the instructions of 3 different seals, which in my opinion is pretty awesome. There he goes, replanting, and then he'll bring his extra seeds and store them where they need to go. Awesome. Look at that. Good job, golem. Now, if we wanted to, we could set the request provisioning. So there's a very specific seal, which is the provisioning seal that allows a chest to provide items for the provisioning system. And other golems might use this too. I'm not sure exactly which ones, but basically it's another seal. It's called the provision seal. Let's see, where is it? There it is, provide. And you basically place this on an inventory, and now the items in that inventory can be provided to a golem, so that, if he didn't have enough seeds to replant, he could snag them out of this chest. Pretty cool, right? So that's pretty much the golem system. There's all kinds of cool stuff that you can do with golems, by the way. There's some other nifty upgrades. For example, you can replace their legs. You can have the Uniwheel. Quite fast, but incapable of jumping or going up steep hills. This gives you the wheeled golem, which I just need to see what this looks like. Leather and bowl. Okay, just because I want to see. There's actually a couple neat options here. So leathers and bowls, and let's go ahead and craft this. And you'll notice that it actually does do like a neat little pressing animation there, which is really cool. I hadn't noticed that until just now. So golem press is working, manufacturing a golem for me. Just need to see what this looks like. Sweet. Ha! Check it out. He's definitely on a wheel. That is awesome. Another one that I want to show you guys is, this is cool. You ready for this? Dun dun dun, Uniwheel, climbing legs, or levitation module. This is going to require an arcane levitator, as well as some breastplates and slime balls. So let's get ourselves the arcane levitator. Oops. So other golem types are this guy, which is the arcane levitator. So he can actually fly, this golem, which is neat. Oh, look, he's flying away. So cool. So there's different types, obviously, of body parts. You can go ahead and swap out different heads with different stats. So this guy has a perceptive head. He can see farther. Biothomic head can go both see farther and is smart. Different types of hands that have different attributes, like breaking things and dart launchers. And then different types of legs, like the ability to fly, roll around on a wheel, that kind of stuff. Very, very cool. So large variety of golems are available, and of course combining that with the different seals that, you know, affect certain areas definitely makes it so that your golems can be very, very cool and useful. The only other thing I'll mention is the smart golems here actually level up as they perform tasks. So regular golems won't level up, but the smart ones, anybody that's labeled as smart, can level up and become a little bit better at the tasks that they're trying to accomplish as they proceed. Neat, right? Bad news, guys. As I was looking around here, it looks like I caused some negative effects. Some of the taint that I must have been leaked into the environment actually coalesced into a tainted biome here. So I've already had some bad effects on the environment. Like I mentioned, taint can be a little bit nastier in this version than prior versions of Thaumcraft. It's not crazy bad. I've been doing a lot of off-camera work, which probably caused this. One of the things you'll want to grab to help deal with this are ethereal blooms. So the ethereal bloom will help counteract your taint issues here. So go ahead and plant one of those in the world, and it'll start healing the environment and cleaning up some of the taint that you've got, you know, floating around here. So we can see that's already having a positive effect in this terrain. So that is available in the alchemy tab. Ethereal bloom helps clean up the nastiness of the environment around you. Nice. I better plant a few of these if I'm going to continue this spotlight without further problems. See? Already fixing it up. Nice and quick. I think they have about an 8-block radius, so keep that in mind. So the next thing I want to show you is an interesting block called the Aura Totem of Dispersal. These guys are listed over here, so it's allowing you to manipulate the aura in an environment. So if we were to look at the aura right here, we'd notice that we have a lot of Perditio, and maybe I want to disperse that to make room for other types of aura. So I'm going to go ahead and place down the Aura Totem of Dispersal, and you'll notice there's an inventory slot here. Let's get an entropy shard and throw it in there. Cool. Now it uses the entropy shard as both a fuel and as a way to determine which aspects are affected by the Aura Totem of Dispersal. You can read more information, of course, in your Thaumonomicon, but basically it'll help push the certain aspect that you specify using the shards into adjacent chunks instead of in its current chunk. By default, it's going to take the chunk that it's currently in and push it to the 8 surrounding chunks. Okay, so right now we're pushing the Perditio aspect out of the aura into adjacent chunks. Pretty cool. Nice. And I might have put this on a chunk border because I unfortunately can't easily see where chunks are broken up right now, but that's basically what that thing does. Now, this has the side effect of potentially causing flux, because it's, you know, dangerous to mess with the aura. There's another totem that does the opposite, which draws particular types of aspects in, more so than they would otherwise be. And you can also upgrade this guy using two types of totems called the inner and the outer poles. And basically you place them underneath the totem. So if we were to dig underground here, and we throw the inner in, it's going to, instead of just the one chunk that this thing is sitting in would push it out, it'll branch it out to the 3 chunks, or I think it is a 3x3 area, and then it bumps out to a 5x5 and further. And you can see a visual representation of that here. So if we put one inner in here, instead of just being the one chunk being pushed out to the 8 surrounding it, it would be this 3x3 chunk pattern pushing out to the one surrounding it. And with 2 outer poles, it gives you another band of outers. So 1 band, 2 band, 3 bands of outer chunks. Okay, so that's pretty much basic aura manipulation. It lets you modify what happens, and you can also throw a stabilizing totem under there to help stabilize it so that it's a little bit more stable. So let's put a inner in there, so we'll bump that in, and that should actually start affecting more chunks around it, so like, you know, the ones further out. Neat, right? So this is going to be useful, especially as you start having lots of flux. You might want to start pushing things around, or if you want to say, hey, I need more ordo in here, you might want to do an aura totem of attraction. So let's remove this guy, and we'll even remove this one for now, and we'll put the aura totem of attraction here. Okay, and let's go with an ordo shard. That should start getting us a little bit more ordo. See how ordo's filling up? And if you really wanted to see, I could probably even do this, right? So see how ordo's filling up? So it's attracting ordo from adjacent chunks more so to make sure that this chunk has more ordo in it. Not bad, right? Pretty cool. Another thing you can do for aura manipulation is check out the node magnet. This will allow you to place down, and it's going to go ahead and start zapping a nearby node. So it's going to find one in about a 30 block radius, and it'll start pulling the magnet, will pull the node nearby. Nice. It's a pretty slow process. It takes a while, and depending on the size of the node, so this is like an average size node, so it's a little bit slow. Smaller nodes would move faster, and larger nodes would move slower. And you can read more about the node attraction with magnets right here. It's obviously a pretty complex recipe to make, but like it says, finds the nearest node within 32 blocks and draws it towards itself. Pretty cool. I like it. And do note that 2 nodes that are near each other, there we go, it finally finished moving over. Oh, I guess you need to be picked up. There we go with that. 2 nodes that are near each other will start to merge, so be aware of that. So let's see, I think there was a node, it's off in the distance here, it's actually pretty far away. But 2 nodes near each other, like I said, will start to merge with each other. And it just so happens that if they're the same type, like these 2 are, they'll just merge and be larger. But, you know, if they're different types, they might form a compound aspect, or they might wind up with just one of the 2 aspects winning out and overall having a larger node of that one aspect type. So before we wrap up this part of the spotlight, I want to dump a bunch of bedrock into a crucible. That's going to cause a huge amount of flux to go in the environment. This is called not doing what you're supposed to be doing. This is very bad. I'm creating large amounts of flux. Whoa, look at that. That is a huge amount of flux. Flux is going to manifest by way of taint, and I just kind of want to see what kind of taint effects we might have going on here now that I've done this. So A, that's a really cool looking effect. I really like the look of that smoke. And B, we're causing a serious mess. So let's come back in a second here when we start to see some taint effects as a result of oversaturating your environment with flux. So one thing that I just noticed is we just got flux crystals. So it looks like some of the crystals that were nearby absorbed that flux and got converted into flux crystals instead of what used to be there was Perditio crystals. So that's interesting. Oh boy, looks like another crystal has become tainted. That's not good. Lots of flux, bad things happening. Waiting for worse. So guys, what's going to happen with all the taint in the environment? I don't know, but I suspect that over time it'll start developing into what we saw happen over here, which is a tainted biome. So that won't be good. At the moment, though, I think it's time to wrap up this spotlight. So if you do get large amounts of flux in your environment, watch out, because you might start getting a tainted biome like we saw. This is a wrapping up point for the spotlight. I think we've covered pretty much everything that you would need to know to check out Thaumcraft 5. There are some things we didn't cover, but the Thaumonomicon is going to cover it for you. We covered all the major features, though. There's obviously a couple random items. Like, I'm not going to show you every single item in the mod because there's tons of them, but you can definitely download the mod and check it out for yourself. So like I said, it's available right now for Minecraft version 1.8.9. Definitely worth checking out, and stay tuned for version 1.8.9 Let's Play series, where we'll be definitely playing with a bit of Thaumcraft 5, as well as some other mods that are currently ready for the current version of Minecraft. All right, guys, for now, Direwolf20 signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed the spotlight on Thaumcraft 5. As always, take it easy.